Hey everyone, I'm Diana Marquis, host of About Fundraising the podcast, and founder and chief strategist for DM Group Consulting, a boutique consultancy that works with nonprofit organizations on their board education and training, fundraising planning, and coaching for executive directors and development directors. You can find me on LinkedIn and my website, dmgroupconsulting.com. So here are some stats for you. According to BoardSource and Council for Nonprofits, only half of all nonprofits in the U.S. have a strategic plan. And 86% of those organizations report that they have a positive impact on their revenue generation because of their plan. Which side of that stat are you on? I'm Diana Marquis, founder and chief strategist for DM Group Consulting, and we're going to talk about strategic plans for nonprofit organizations. I love a good plan. I like helping others with their plans. Strategic plans can be simple or complex, and I've worked with both. With one organization that was a really new organization, the board members were pretty inexperienced, but they knew that they needed a strategic plan. So we worked at setting their goals, making sure that there were assignments, and also, most importantly, making sure that they knew when their goals were achieved. What were those benchmarks? What were those markers that they knew that they had achieved their goals? And on the other end, it can be very complex. I worked with another organization where everything was detailed and the goals were set very high for the board and for the staff. I even did a Venn diagram for them. I'll have to say that the first organization, the one that had just a simple plan with goals and outcomes and assignments, worked much better, and actually they worked their plan, than the other organization that had a very complex plan that ended up sitting on a shelf. Does your organization have a strategic plan? These plans have a bad reputation. It's something you're supposed to have, but oftentimes no one bothers to review it or knows how to use it, so it sits on a virtual or real shelf gathering dust. And what is a strategic plan anyway? It's a comprehensive document used to guide an organization. It helps keep everyone focused and to avoid mission creep. Strategic planning is a process used to define the direction an organization is to take. It sets goals, and it helps decide on the action steps needed to address current challenges and to take on future opportunities. And lastly, maybe even more important, is to identify the resources that are needed to achieve these goals. A strategic plan gives us the parameters that aligns everyone's efforts and day-to-day operations with a long-term vision. A successful strategic plan takes into account an organization's mission, vision, values, and capacity. It doesn't do any good to have a plan with lofty goals if you don't have the staff or the finances that will be able to meet those goals. So capacity is very important. Now, if you Google strategic plan or strategic planning, you'll get a ton of information. In addition to the AI overview, there are the 5 C's, the 4-4 process, 3 principles, templates, guides, 5 stages, 10 steps, and many, many more. It's best to keep it simple, and there are 3 points that I'm going to make today. First of all, there are the planners and the implementers. There is the plan itself, and there is the achievements, the successes, the goals reached. How will you know that you've been successful? So who are the planners anyway? The planners are the staff and the board, either separately or together. And usually together in a small committee, I find to be the best option. This process is a collaboration between the board and staff. Effective strategic plan often uses a task force comprised of both board members and key staff members to ensure alignment between vision and execution. As I said a while ago, it's no good to have a lofty vision if there's no one that can implement it. Here are a few things that the board should be responsible for. They should focus on a high-level strategy. They set the strategic direction that aligns with the mission. They ensure that resources are available. How much are they going to contribute? Who do they know that can help support this organization to help it grow? And they approve the final plan, and lastly, monitor the progress made. On the staff side, which is usually led by the executive director or CEO, they conduct any research that is needed. They develop specific goals and action plans for the priorities set by the board. They assign responsibilities. Who will make sure that these specific action steps are taken? And who do they report to? And they manage the day-to-day implementation. A strategic plan does involve day-to-day work. I've worked with board members who set goals that are way beyond the capacity of the staff and didn't seem to need to ensure the needed resources. This is a plan for failure. A plan has to work both ways, not just a lofty goal, but clear understanding and commitment to make it happen. And that commitment, again, is from the board and the staff. Think of a strategic plan as a roadmap. Where do you, collectively, want the organization to be in 3 years, in 5 years? These days, most strategic plans really just focus on 3 years. 5 years is just too far out to forecast these days. This is a very powerful exercise where people should feel free to express their dream or vision for the organization. Sometimes when I work with organizations, I'll have separate meetings with the staff and with the board. This gives the staff usually more freedom to talk about what their dreams and aspirations are for the organization and not feel judged by the board. So you might keep this in mind when you work on your strategic plan. Give the staff the space, the safe space, to share their dreams and aspirations for the organization. I'm really proud of one group I worked with who actually used and followed their strategic plan. They were a group of volunteers. They had no staff. And one of their big goals was to have an executive director in 5 years. Now, I'd already said 5 years is too far to plan, but for this group, they made it happen. 5 years later, they had an executive director that they were paying, which is all the better. Next is setting priorities. People will have different priorities. It's important to listen to each other and agree on what is a priority for the organization, not just you. And talking about resources. Resources are more than money. It's time and people. How will the board invest in the resources needed to achieve this plan? The board should be and is responsible for the financial health of the organization. This includes fundraising. This includes advocacy. This includes encouraging and inviting other people to know about and to support your organization. So now we have the vision. What are the steps, the action items, toward achieving this vision within the set time frame? These must be realistic and measurable. A strategic plan is not set in stone. It should be considered a living document that will be reviewed on a regular basis, adjusted as needed, and improved as circumstances change. I've seen strategic plans work best when they are kept front and center. You have your strategic plan at your board meetings. You have it at your staff meetings. It's reviewed on a regular basis to see what's been achieved, what's been ignored, and how everything else has progressed. The hard work of creating a strategic plan is done. This is like losing weight or winning a marathon. You've done it. Now, how do you keep that weight off or prepare for that next race? Using key performance indicators, KPIs, data analytics, and other measurements will help define your progress. And again, be real. How often will the board and staff evaluate the plan against what's been achieved? Will it be quarterly, monthly? It should be at least twice a year, if not more often. And responsibility should be shared. It doesn't belong to just one person or just staff or just the board. All the stakeholders are responsible for making the strategic plan work. Here are 7 key performance indicators, or KPIs. Program effectiveness, fundraising, financial health, donor engagement, volunteer management, outreach and advocacy, and operational efficiency. Program effectiveness refers to the number of people served and if your programs are reaching their goals. Fundraising effectiveness can be looking at your donor retention rate. Is there an increase in average gift size from the year before? And the growth of different revenue streams. Can you accept stock gifts? Are you accepting vehicle donations? These are different streams that can help your fundraising grow. Your financial health. What is the operating reserve? How liquid are your assets? Donor engagement could be looking at how many donors attend your events or volunteer. Which leads us to volunteer management. What is the retention rate? How many hours do your volunteers work? Are they donors? Outreach and advocacy. Public awareness matters. This refers to your social media engagement and your website traffic. Operational efficiency looks at your staff turnover rate, the ratio of program expenses to the overall budget. This indicates the percentage of resources dedicated to the mission. This tracking process is important because it elevates transparency, demonstrates that the organization is mission aligned, and that the organization is sustainable. A strategic plan takes work. You are defining the direction your organization is to take. You're setting goals. You're deciding on the action steps to address your current challenges and to take on future opportunities. And you are identifying the resources that are needed. A plan belongs to everyone, not just the staff or board. A plan can't sit on a shelf. It must be front and center at board meetings, staff meetings, and wherever questions are asked and decisions pondered. Now, the next phase is to follow a clear strategic cycle, including how to review, refresh, and recast your plan at least twice a year. Things change, and obviously they will change if you follow your strategic plan. So you want to keep it fresh. And there are parts of the plan that you will probably need to reevaluate and move to the next level. Here are 3 things you can do. You can ask to see your organization's strategic plan. If there isn't one, or if it's really old, you can advocate for a new one for your organization. If your boss or your board doesn't see the value of a strategic plan, you can do a mini plan, one for your department, or maybe even just for your job. Set your own goals. Where do you want to see your organization in 2 or 3 years? You can do this, and you can call me. I love a good plan. Before I leave, I'd like to welcome our newest client, Ciudad Nueva in El Paso, Texas. In 2026, About Fundraising, the podcast, will feature more solo episodes that focus on the nuts and bolts of successful fundraising. Our next episode will continue our conversation about the fundraising plan, why summer is the best time for annual fundraising planning. Tune in to About Fundraising, the podcast on Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts.